My name is Mark. This is going to be a complete guide on how to sew a Hawaiian throw net, from all the equipment you need here to all the individual steps of everything to make a complete net. So right here, these are pretty much all the tools or things you're going to need to start or to sew a net. First of all, you're going to need needles. You can get needles either in plastic or bamboo, but my preference and many other people's preference is bamboo. It's a lot more stiffer. When you use plastic needles, these things will flex when you have a line on it, and that's just a real pain when these things are bending full of line. Plastic needles are really easy to come by. These are really cheap for the most part. Like this particular needle was $2.15 in Hilo at the S. Tokunaga store. And bamboo needles can be pretty hard to come by. I don't know how to make my own yet. I've been told it's not very difficult, and one day in the future, maybe when I do learn how, I'll share a video how to make it also. But this particular needle I got from Philippines. My girlfriend's family went over there and they knew somebody that makes them, so I just asked them to make me like 50 of them. When it comes to sewing nets, needles are your best friend. You can never have enough needles, and depending on your preference, you may like shorter ones, you may like longer ones. I like longer ones like this for more capacity, so I don't need to switch out needles as often. You could also sometimes find these bamboo needles in fishing stores in Hawaii. You just have to check around, ask around. So needles, definitely you'll need a guide to tie the knots on the net. This particular net I'm about to start is going to be an 8-foot net with 3-inch eyes. So this guide is about 1.5 inches wide or tall. So when you sew a knot around a guide, it's only half of the eye on the net. So you need 2 layers or 2 rows with the guide to make a complete eye or diamond. When you get down to the skirt, you're going to want larger guides. I should have stressed in the beginning of the video, but there's many ways to sew nets. There's so many different ways, and what I'm teaching you or what I was taught may not be, the perfect or best way, but it's what I was taught. It works for me. But yeah, there are so many other ways to skin this cat, as they say, But anyways, I can't remember the sizes of all these guides here, but later on in the video, when I start talking about the skirt, you can watch that to see the specifics of how wide or how big these guides are for the skirt. Fishing line, obviously you're going to need to sew a net. From what I've seen, the most popular brands are Andy and Trilene, and these are the only 2 brands I've currently worked with so far. But from what I've heard from some people have used any kind of line from any brand to sew nets with, but from what I've heard, this is the most popular. So you could sew nets typically anywhere from 10 or 15 pound test to maybe 30, 40 pound test for the net, and the skirt typically is going to be stronger than the net. So skirts, from what I've sewn or what I was taught, are typically anywhere from 30 to 40 pound test mono for the skirt. Wouldn't really make sense making a net in fluorocarbon, because fluorocarbon is really expensive. It's really expensive. But when it comes to the skirt, I've also been told you typically don't want to sew a skirt with more than 40 pound test mono, because it's just going to be extremely hard to tie those knots on there. So if you're using 50 pound or 60 pound test for the skirt, it can be really difficult to cinch those knots down, and those knots could come undone. What else you'll need for the net is lead line. So you could either use, I don't know the particular name of it, it's like a type of rope. Hanapā Fishing Supply sells it. Tanaka Plumbing here on Kauai sells it also. I believe it's 450 pound test, that rope they use. Some people prefer to use that, some people prefer to use mono. And typically what I would use is anywhere between 250 pound test mono or 300 pound test mono, like I'm holding right here for the lead line. And then for lead, you'll need either canoe lead like this or tube lead. I make canoe lead myself. I make it in size 6 or 2 ounce canoe lead, or size 10 canoe lead, which is a 1.6 ounce. So size 6 or size 8 means it takes 6 or 8 to make 1 pound. 6 or 8 pieces of lead to make 1 pound. There is someone you could contact for tube lead named Elijah Simpliciano, who you could contact on Facebook. He makes tube lead. I believe he makes canoe lead too. But you'll need lead on your net. And then other pieces of equipment that are helpful is I like to use 2 key rings and a swivel. And what I'll do is I'll start the net, the pico, on the key ring, and I'll use the other loop to hang on to a hook or some other fastener on the wall, ceiling, whatever, to sew the net. I like putting a swivel just so the net doesn't get all twisted up as you're sewing around and around downwards. Some people like to use just rope or some kind of suji or line and let that twist. There's all kinds of theories of whether to use a swivel or not, but I'll show you this way. And then what I like to do, I learned from seeing pictures from someone else sewing, is using these grow light adjustable hangers. You can get these on Amazon pretty cheap. This is a Vivo Sun brand one. I think it was probably like $15 for a pack of 2 of them. This thing is a lifesaver. You could attach this pretty much anywhere, and because it's adjustable by pressing this button, you can just, whatever stage of the net you're at, you can use this, and you could hook this on itself pretty much on anything. And this is just a really awesome tool to have when you're sewing nets. Sometimes I'll attach this to my ceiling at my house on little hooks I have mounted on the ceiling, so I can sew in whatever room or part of the house. Sometimes I'll go behind my pickup truck and I'll attach this to my bed racks, and I'll be able to sew on there. And yeah, this thing, I can't tell you, I can't recommend enough this piece of equipment for sewing. So what I'll typically do is I'll put this key ring here, hook it here, and then the net will be down here. And then yeah, this other end here, I'll attach the hooks or whichever. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all the equipment you'll need. And we'll get started on all the other parts of making a net, like loading needles, starting a pico, different knots you can use. So I'm starting a new net right now. This is going to be an 8-foot net with 3-inch eyes, probably about 9 pounds of canoe lead on it. Anyways, you can see already got my 2 key rings, swivel in the middle, my grow light, hanger, ratchet strap thing right here. This thing is, I'm telling you, you got to get one of these if you're going to get into sewing nets. It's so handy. You can mount it everywhere. You can adjust it to whatever length. It's just an amazing thing to have. Anyways, so start the pico. You want about 1 foot of tag line from your needle. You're going to get your needle, come from under or behind the key ring, pull it through. You're going to grab both lines, your tag line and your needle line here, and get your guide. Put your guide between the 2 lines. Your needle line, you're going to move to the left a little, so the line coming off your needle. You're going to grab the line, your tag line, that's now on the right. You're going to get your needle, go by that tag line, go from behind and under, and you're going to pull it through. It's going to create a little half inch. And from this point, you could slide it up, pull it up, or pull it down to adjust it. It's kind of personal preference whether you want a small pico or a larger pico. I like it probably about this length. What you're going to do then, so you pinch that, and you're basically going to do 2 half hitches around both lines here. So a trick my friend taught me to make it kind of quicker is you put your hand with the needle under your line. So the line's resting on top of my hand now, as you see. So what I'm going to do now is my needle's going from behind the 2 lines, have it go around, and from here my fingers are pinching the needle, and it's going to pull it through the line that was just on top of my hand, and that's going to create a half hitch. So you're going to pull that down and have it cinch on top of that first half hitch, and you're going to do another one to lock that one. So again, needle hand is going under the line, not the tag line, but the line from the needle. I'm going to have the needle go around those 2, grab my fingers, pull the needle through, got another little half hitch, and we're going to cinch it down. And that's 1 eye on the pico. And this particular net is going to start with 40, and it's going to end at 300 further down the net. So now we just got to make 39 more of these knots, or these eyes, and we'll be able to start the next row. It's very critical when you do the pico that you take your time. You want to make sure the knots are nice and straight. If you ever mess up, you could always undo it. If it's your first time making a net, it's okay if it's just a little off by like a couple millimeters or maybe a centimeter. You don't have to be very hard on yourself. But if you're a perfectionist or you're really critical, you could just keep trying over and over and until you get it nice and straight. But don't let it stress you out to the point that you want to stop. But anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and finish sewing the rest. And once I get 40, I will show you how to end the row. Forgot to mention one thing. It's kind of a preference whether you want to fill up your whole guide or not. I typically will fill it up about this much, and then I'll start sliding them off. And then occasionally what I'll do, especially with the pico, is I'll just kind of line them up and just make sure the lines are, I mean not the lines, the knots are in a pretty straight line. And when the pressure for sewing, you don't need to be pulling on your guide, really hard. Just you need to put some tension, not like a crazy amount of tension, where you're hurting your wrist or anything. Although your wrist and hand will get a little sore when you first start out sewing. Yeah, just a little tension, not a crazy amount. One thing you could do too, so see right here, I pulled a little too much and this knot slid up. You could adjust it. You just put your needle in there, and just push down, and then put some tension on again. That way you can keep it, all the knots in as straight as a line as you can. And when you put your guide back in, just put it in from the right to the left, from on top of the eyes, not from behind. And be careful too, as you see right here, when I tightened that down, the line went around the guide. Just make sure it's right on top. In fact, I messed that part up a little bit. Oh, I really messed that part up. Yeah, if you ever mess up, just don't panic. Just try to reset what you did. Okay, so it's going to go around the front, back of the guide, around. Okay, you'll see me constantly taking the guide out and just checking it, trying to make sure it's as straight as possible. And then once I get deep enough into it, I'll start counting the eyes or knots just to make sure that I'm at 40. So I'm just going to do a quick count, see where I'm at. I think I'm probably at about 15. So to count it, you're going to count each individual knot. So, or the eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we're at 23 right now. Yeah, the pico can be frustrating, but don't let that stop you from sewing, because once you get past that, the rest of the net is going to be a lot easier and it's fun. So when you get further into the pico like this, you know, all this is going to kind of be getting in the way, so just push it out of the way. Make sure your needle's not hooking into any of those other existing eyes you created. Like I said, just take your time. So you'll see the other eyes will try to get caught in there, right? Just pull them out, push them out of the way. Alright, so I'm on 34. Just need a few more. We're at 40. Then I'll show you how to end the row. I think this is 39, possibly 40. I didn't keep track. Right after this knot, we'll give it another count. Make sure it's 40. And we can end the row. And as you can see all the stuff getting away. Like I said, just pull it out. Get it all out of the way. Just make sure you're not tying into those other ones. Alrighty, so let's check it out. This is either 39 or 40. So we're just going to kind of bunch it all together here. There we go. I'm going to go from a tag line and count. So I kind of use my fingers as a guide, and I just look at the knot on the left to count count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Okay, let's just double check. You want to absolutely make sure you get the number right. So I'm going to count it one more time from the left to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Okay, so just one more. And I'll show you how to finish the row. And that is 40. So let's just kind of line them all up. Just see how straight we're able to get it. And that's pretty straight. So to end the row, you have your needle line. You get your tag line. What you're going to do, it's kind of like the first part of tying your shoes. You're going to crisscross the line. So my needle line is on the left, tag line is on the right. I'm going to cross them. And what you're going to do is with your needle, you can go under, behind, and through your tag line, and you got this little half knot thing right here, and from here it's a bit of a mess, but you're going to grab the eye to the right and the eye to the left on the left side, sandwich them together so they look like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your needle through from the left to the right, left to right, through there. And you're not going to pull it all the way through. So the line coming from the needle that you pulled through, you're going to put tension on it, as you see with my index finger. And you're going to kind of put tension right there. And this part now you can adjust. So you could pull it with this tag line here. You could pull it up, or you could put your finger in there and slide it down. So the whole point of this is we're ending the row, right? So we want to have a knot that slides right up to the existing ones, or the eye. And I like to put it just a little below the eye on the right, and that'll typically make it straight. So pretty much right about there. I'm going to pinch that on the left, and your needle is going to go back through those eyes from right to left, as you see here. So now it's out. So from there, you're going to just do 2 half hitches around that kind of half knot you're pinching. So just like as we did with all the knots for the pico, you're going to have your needle hand put it under the line here, not your tag line, but the line on the needle, You're going to have a needle go behind the 2 lines right here that you're pinching. And you're going to grab your fingers, pull it through the loop that was resting on top of your hand to create that half hitch. You're going to cinch it down. You're going to do another one. So another half hitch around these 2 lines. So needle hand is going to go under the line like this. Needle is going to go behind those 2 lines. Slide it through, grab it with your fingers, pull it through the loop, and then you're going to cinch it down. And now you're ready for the next row of the net. So you could already see now you have your pico up here. So this is the first and last part of the net, at least in the way I was taught. So what we'll do is, so we just completed the pico. We're going to sew now the length of the net, the skirt and everything. Once the lead's put on, we're going to flip the net right side out, because when we sew it this way, the net's actually inside out. So once we flip it right side out, then we'll start doing a bunch of half hitches over this pico, and then it'll look like the kind of pico that you recognize and see all the time. So anyways, we're on the next row now, and so we finished the pico and we're ready to start sewing the net. This is where it gets really fun and really fast. And anyways, so I have 3 knots, I know. I'll show you the one I like to use the most, and then I'll show you the other 2. So what you do is you get your guide, you put it behind your line for your needle, and then you put the knot that was on top at the top of the guide. You're going to have your needle line go around the front of the guide to the back from behind, like so. You're going to put some tension with the guide on the pico and net, and not a crazy amount of tension, just pull down with the guide just enough to create some tension. You don't need to be pulling it really hard, just enough to create some tension. So what you're going to do then is you're going to grab the eye to the right of the one you're currently in or kind of connected to, and you're going to have your needle here go from the front and through the eye to the right. So this is opposite of the pico. The pico is the other way. So you're going to go from the top, pull it through. You're going to pull it through until it rests right on top of the guide here, as you see. So from here, you're going to pinch it with your left hand. You can kind of see this thing's twisting up a little, so I'll just put my finger to hold it steady. So you'll pull this down, your needle line down, while also pulling down on the guide with your left hand to create some tension. And what you do is you get your needle hand, you're going to put it under the line here, coming off the needle. And you're going to grab the eye to the right with your index finger here, spread it apart. Your needle now is going to come from behind the line on the right here. You're going to pull it through, grab it with your fingers, pull down the line, cinch it down. It's going to create a little half hitch right there. So from there, you're now going to do that same kind of style half hitch around the 2 lines. So you did it on the one to the right, now you're going to do it on both. So I'm going to put my needle hand here, go under the line like so. Needle is going to come from behind, and it's going to go around the 2 lines. So you see this line here too, it's kind of sneaking around. It might go around the guide. Just keep an eye on that and make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to pull my needle through here, grab it with my fingers, pull it through that line that was on top of my hand, and now you see a half hitch forming around the 2 lines. You're going to pull it out to the right, down to cinch it, and now you have a eye on the second row of the net. Or I guess you could say, yeah, it's the second row of the net. So there's a complete eye right here, or a diamond. So it's 40 eyes on the pico, so we're just going to go ahead and go across this whole entire row. So going off the knots I just showed you, I want to show you or take advantage of the situation and show you how to undo a knot. So say if you mess up further back in the row, you need to correct something, you could undo all the knots. It's kind of a pain, I mean, you could cut them off and then just kind of rip the extra knot part off, but either way, it takes time and patience, and that's why you want to make sure you get things done the correct way the first time. Especially on the add-eye row, you absolutely need to make sure those things line up. You need to take your time, be patient, but when you undo it on any of these knots, it's literally just going in reverse. So if you know how to make the knot, you'll know how it's formed and how to reverse it, basically. So in this case right here, you look at it, I don't know if you can see on camera, but I'll grab it with my hand. You just look at the knot closely and just kind of mess with the line and push it through. And sometimes this one's like loosened up a little already. You could kind of push it through and then just feed your needle through it and basically just do it in reverse. So sometimes these things get cinched down so tight, especially with 15-pound test or so, that it's really difficult to undo these things, and you'll have to use like a tack or a safety pin or a sewing needle, something very tiny and sharp to get these things opened up so you can get the line through. And there we go, got it out. So, and your line will kind of be kinked up, but you're going to be re-sewing those knots anyway, so. But that's just kind of an example of undoing the knots. But like I said, just to prevent yourself having to go backwards, just take your time. Try not, if you're beginning, try not to get distracted. Just make sure you're doing it right the first time. We're on the next row here. I'm going to do the add-eye knot or pu'umana or widener knot. I'll show you how to do it here. On this particular net, I'm doing a 1-2 formula. So pretty much what it would be is 1-2 is referring to the eyes or diamonds, complete eyes. So what it's going to be is pico up here, 1 complete diamond or eye, add eye, and then from below that it would be 2 complete diamonds or 2 complete eyes, and then add eye, pu'umana, widen or not, and then it would keep repeating every 2. This is so the net spreads quicker. So this knot, put your guide through the eye. The first half of it's like the regular knot I sew, or it's just the regular knot you'll do. So I'll just do a regular knot right now, and then to do the add eye knot, what you would do is the line, have it go through the front of the guide, up the back, and instead of going to the next eye to just sew a regular one, you're going to pull it apart and you're going to have your needle go to the right behind, just pull it through. Make sure this doesn't get caught on the guide. So pull it through, and then you're going to lock it twice. So hand under the needle hand under the line and lock it around the 2 twice. And then what you'll see is you'll have this extra little eye hanging out down there. And then, so we started with 40 eyes on the pico, and the whole first add eye or pu'umana row is going to be doubling it to 80. And then from the row below this, we're going to be doing regular knots attaching to all this. And this is what's going to make the net wider. So again, I'll show it to you. when you saw me the progress from just starting the pico. So I just wanted to show the add-eye row, or adding eye, or pu'umana, or widen or not. If you look at the net here, I have the shirt behind it just to put some contrast to see better. If you see these particular eyes or knots kind of look different than the rest, these are the add eyes or pu'umanas. So when it comes to nets, depending on the size, what I was taught, if you do a shorter net, like a 5 foot, 6 foot, 7 foot net, even possibly 8 foot, you're going to want the net to spread quicker. So if you see here, up here is the pico, and then I have one complete eye or 2 rows, and then I have the add eye. And then, so the formula for a 5 foot, 6 foot, 7 foot net, I typically would do a 1-2 kind of pattern. So what that means is pico, 1 complete eye, add eye row, and then it's going to be 2 complete eyes, which I'm at right now. So 1 complete eye, 2 complete eye, and then it's going to be another row of the add eye row or pu'umana row. And then pretty much for that pattern would repeat for the whole entire net. So it would only be 1 eye before the add eye row, only in the beginning. After that, it's going to be 2 diamonds or 2 eyes under each add eye row, and that's going to make the net wider. So I'll start with, on this net, I'm starting with 40 eyes, and I'm going to end at 320 eyes further down the net. I'll show more examples probably in this video, lining them up, or just how you can see them. So I'm on the 3rd add eye or pu'umana row, and quick recap of this net. Up here on the pico, started with 40 eyes, and I'm doing the 1-2 method because this net is only an 8 foot. I want it to spread quicker. So the formula is 1-2. So it's pico, 1 complete eye, add eye, 2 complete add eyes, add eye, and then the rest of the net, it's going to be every 2 complete eyes, add eye, or pu'umana row. And every one of those rows is going to add another 40 eyes to the width of the net. So in this case, since I started with 40, if it's 50, then it's going to add every 50. It's going to add 50 eyes on every add eye or pu'umana row. So in this case, started with 40, 1 complete eye. Here's the add eye row, going to be 80, and then 2 complete eyes. So 1 complete eye right here, 2 complete eyes, or 4 rows, and that's now going to be 120 eyes. And then we're going to go another 2 complete eyes, or 4 rows, 1 complete eye, another complete eye, and now this is going to be 160 eyes wide. So as I mentioned before, you want to be extremely careful when you're on the add eye or pu'umana row. You need to absolutely make sure that the extra eyes you're adding are lining up with the eyes above it. So again, recapping, the first absolute first add eye or pu'umana row over here under this complete eye, this thing is going to be an add eye every single knot. So it's going to be regular knot or regular eye, add eye, regular eye, add eye. So it's kind of hard to mess that up on the first row. But when you get to the second add eye or pu'umana row, it's going to be every 2. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera because of the line in the background. I'll try to put my hand on it. But you'll see here, you got these 2 knots that look different from the rest, right? So when we're on the add eye row, you'll see add eye, 1 knot, 2 knot, add eye, and then it just keeps, the pattern keeps repeating for this whole entire row, and this adds another 40 eyes. So here's the add eye knot right here, 1, 2, add eye knot. And every time you do the add eye knot, you want to cross-reference, go up 2 diamonds, or whatever diamonds, whatever formula you're doing, you got to go up 2 diamonds and make sure that it's lining up with the add eye knot above. So you got to really take your time. You can't get complacent, once you get better and, are watching TV or listening to music, just absolutely make sure you double check that these knots right here line up with the knots above. So again, I'm doing the 1-2 formula. So right now I'm at the part where it's every 2 complete eyes or diamonds. So 1 complete eye, 2 complete eye, add eye right here. You see it right here, how it looks different, right? And this is it right here. So I'm going to sew a couple more. I'm almost done with the row, as you can see here, because the needle's over here. So when I get my needle out of my pocket here, I'm going to sew a couple on or finish this row. So in this case, since I'm on the 3rd row, it's going to be every 3 knots I'm going to add eye. So this is 2. I'm on the 3rd one. And when I first started out sewing nets, I would probably create a little too much work for myself. Where I'm on the 3rd one, what I used to do is this. I would spread it open, so have my fingers on my right hand, pull it apart or pull it wide, and get 1 eye here, 2 eyes, and double check that right here is the add eye, and make sure it's lined up. So what I used to do when I started was I would check it before I'd sew the knot, and then I would check it after I sewed the knot, just to absolutely make sure that I did not screw it up. And you don't have to do that. What I do now is I just check it the first time, and then I trust that I got it the first time, and then I'll just go around. But again, just be really careful that you are lining it up with the add eye above. So do another one. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to check it above. So use my right hand with my fingers, pull it apart, go 1 eye, 2 eye, and right there is the add eye. So it's going to line up. So I'm going to do the add eye. And when you pull it off, you'll see that they should be lining up. Like I said, with this row, it's absolutely essential that you take your time. You do not want to mess it up, because it's just going to waste more of your time and, money, resources, fishing line, trying to fix it. So just when you're on the add eye row, just take your time. So right here, I'm going to show you how to attach a loaded needle onto a net anywhere. So this is handy if you need to patch, or if you run out of line on one of your needles and you need to put a new one on that's fully loaded. So what you do, you have your needle, you get some tag line here. You don't need that much, maybe, I don't know, 6 inches or maybe a foot of tag line to be safe. And you're going to get one of these eyes here that you want to attach it to. You're going to have your needle go from behind or under the eye, pull it through, and you're going to grab your tag line and the needle line on there, pull it down. You're going to pinch that, get that tag line out of the way. And what you're going to do here is you're going to put your needle hand under that line. You're going to go from behind the 2 lines right here you're attaching to, slide it through, grab it with your fingers, and then pull it through the loop that was over your hand. And you're going to create a little half hitch here. Cinch that down. And then what you're going to do from here, you're going to grab that tag end, you're going to raise it up, and you're going to do that same exact half hitch around these 3. So it'll be this tag line and those 2. So you're going to grab the needle under the line right there, and make sure that tag line is out of the way and you're going around it. And you're going to go from behind, grab it with your fingers, pull it through. You're going to have another half hitch here. Again, just make sure this tag line is in there with those 2 other lines and out of the way, and you cinch it down and make sure that knot locks on top of the other one, because if it locks underneath down here, it's not going to work, and it's going to, if you pull on this thing, it's going to slide out. So you just cinch it down. I like to cinch it down from both sides. Then you can get some nail clippers and cut that off really close, or scissors, whichever, and then you can continue sewing along the net. And when I sew the pico, I typically will just use tag line, but after I get to the second row or so, then I'll cut the tag line off, and then I'll attach a needle, and then that kind of acts like a little counterweight, so when you're sewing, the net isn't just this huge, you know, jumbled up mess. It kind of spreads on its own with the weight of that needle and eventually the weight of the net. Okay, so we're on the second add-eye row. I tried recording the first add-eye row in orange up here, but the lighting was bad after reviewing the video, so I'm going to show it to you down here. But when you do the add-eye row or pu'umana row, widen or knot row, the first row on the net is going to be, every single knot is going to be adding an extra eye to it. So it's going to be regular knot, add eye, regular knot, add eye around the whole entire that row. And once every row, add eye row below that for the rest of the net, you want to line up the eyes with that, or that particular knot with that. So with different nets, depending on the length, what I was taught, there's different patterns. And again, there's so many different ways to do this. There's probably different ways people do this, completely different ways. But for a 5 foot, 6 foot, 7 foot net, sometimes even 8 foot net, the pattern I was taught is a 1-2 pattern. So that basically means one complete eye. You could probably see it on camera, hopefully. And then it's the add eye. And then it'll be 2 complete eyes, then an add eye, and then from then on downwards, it'll always be every 2 complete eyes, then an add eye row. And you want these add eyes to line up with each other. So I don't know if you can see it on camera, this knot looks a little different from this knot. That's an extra eye in there. So when you're doing the rows further down, you want to check that they're lining up with the eyes above, the add eyes. So this particular one, since I'm on the second row, it's going to be regular eye, add eye, regular eye, add eye. And then the further down you go, it just keeps getting wider and wider. So it'll be like 2 regular eyes, add eye, 2, then below that 3 regular eyes, add eye. So if you see right here, when I sew another eye here, if you look up 2 complete eyes, there's the add eye right there, that weird kind of knot right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my guide, put it in here, and do a regular knot. Lock that knot, and then this is one of the ways to do the add eye that I was taught. I prefer this one. So how you do it, after you've done your regular knot, you're gonna set it up like you're gonna do another knot. So you're gonna have your needle line go down the front, up the back, pinch it. But instead what you're gonna do is you're gonna spread this line over to the right like that. Your needle is gonna go from behind the right one over here, pull it down tight, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna double lock around the 2. So this is really similar to the normal knot that I'm doing. So I'm going to put my needle hand under the line here, put my needle from the right to the left behind the 2 lines here, pull it through, grab it with my fingers. We've got a half hitch, that's 1 locking half hitch. We're going to do a second one. So needle hand under the line to get it ready. Put the needle from the right to the left under the back 2 here, slide it through, grab it with my fingers. We've got a half hitch there, the final locking one. We're going to cinch it down. Now if I pull this off the guide and you look, you're going to see this add eye, this extra eye here. And the next row will be connecting to it. And if you, hopefully you can see on camera, but if I spread this, you'll see a diamond here, or 2 rows, or an eye, another diamond, and then you'll see the other add eye right here. And you want these lining up vertically with each other on every single row that you're adding them. So it's a really good idea that when you are on the add-eye or pu'umana row that you take your time and double check your work, because one of the worst things that could happen is you get through the whole row, you spend, how many minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, how long doing that whole row, and then you find out halfway through it you mess something up. So you're either going to have to patch it or you're going to have to somehow add an extra eye somewhere, but it's good to get it right the first time and be consistent. So I'm just going to do another at a normal speed here. So I know this is the second add-eye row or pu'umana row, so it's going to be every other. So now I'm on the second one, the second knot that is, and now I'm going to do the add-eye. So from the front up the back, split the line or open that eye up, have the needle go through, pull it down, and double lock it. And then always double check that it's lining up with the add-eye up here. I'm going to show how to end the row. I tried to do this earlier on the pico, but I think the lighting might have been bad, kind of difficult to see. So I'm going to try my best to make it easy to see here. Hopefully this dark line on that brown lanai on the bottom, or the lanai floor, will help. So anyways, this will work whether you have a long tag line or a second needle. So this needle on the left is the needle I was sewing with going to the right around the net. This needle on the right side here is where I started. So to end it, what you want to do is you get your left needle here, or the one you were sewing with, you crisscross it with the other needle or tag line. And what you're going to do, it's like tying your shoes. You're just going to get your needle here, you're going to go under the one on the right, and you're going to pull it through. And this is just like a little half knot thing, as you can see right here. It's like tying your shoes. So what you're going to do from this point is you're just going to pinch that with your left hand here. Your needle on the right, you're going to grab the eyes right here. So the eye to the right of the tag line on the right, and the eye on the left side where your other needle came from. What you're going to do is you're going to sandwich it together. So you're going to sandwich it together, as you can see from the side. You're going to grab your needle that was in your right hand. You're going to go from the left to the right through those two eyes right there, sandwiched. You're going to pull that through, and what you're going to do is the line that's coming through it, you're going to grab that, and the line with the needle, you're just going to grab that too, put tension on it. And then your left hand here, you can adjust the height of this half knot right here. So if you want it to go higher, you're going to pull this higher and put tension on it. And if you want it to go lower, you just put your finger in there and slide it down. So when I end the row, I kind of like to put the knot just about below this reference point over here to the right. So I'm going to slide it up. I've noticed that if I put it just in line with it, it may, on the next row, it's going to be a little too high. So you just kind of got to experiment with it, see what gets it nice and level for you. You could always go back and redo it. So I'm going to pinch this right here. I like where it is in this reference point. I'm done with it. So I'm going to get my needle here. It's going to go back from the right to the left from where we came, right? So grab the needle right to the left through those two eyes, pull it through. Now this line is out. So what we're going to do now is lock that half knot right there. So we're going to put our hand with the needle under the line. So this starts a loop. We're going to have our needle go from behind the two lines right there that we're pinching. We're going to pull it through, grab it with our fingers, pull that through the loop that was forming over our hand. I'm getting a little tangled up here, but then we're just going to tighten it down. And we're going to do another one just to lock it. So again, needle hand under the line to get it ready. Put the needle from the right to the left behind those two, pull it through, grab it with your fingers, and pull the needle through the loop that was forming over your hand. And it's going to create another little half hitch. You're going to cinch it down. And this is now ready for our next row. So on this row, we're going to be adding the adding eyes, or putting the new widener knot, pu'umana. So in this case, as I was explaining earlier, it's probably hard to see from this angle and because of the lighting and everything. But on the first add-eye row, or pu'umana row, you want it to be every single knot. Every single knot or eye is going to be a regular eye and an add-eye. Regular eye, add-eye. That's for the pattern. That's the pattern for this knot I'm going to show you right here. There's another one I'll show you, but I don't really like using that one, but I will show that to you after. So this one, when you're on the second add-eye row, and on every add-eye row below that, you want to make sure the add-eye knots line up with each other vertically. And how you do that is you look in the diamond here, and you go up another diamond, and you make sure if it lines up with that strange looking add-eye or pu'umana right there. So in this case, on this particular eye I'm on, it's not lining up. So what I'll do is I'll tie a regular knot. The regular knot that I like to sew. There's the two others you could try if you prefer those. And then on the next one should be the add-eye. So what I'm going to do is this eye right here, go into it, spread this out, and it should be right above it. Okay, so I just finished sewing a row under the add-eye or pu'umana row. So just to be safe and make sure the eyes are at the correct amount there should be, I'll count the whole entire row. So I'll just use both hands, set of 4 fingers on both to count the entire net, and I'll do it like this. I'll just put my fingers in each eye individually and count them, and I either count them by ones or count them by 4s or multiples of 4. And since this is the third add-eye row, it should be at 160 eyes since I started at 40 eyes on the pico. So I'll go ahead and count this whole row just to verify that it's 160 eyes. And typically when I'm sewing nets, I'll count at least twice and make sure that the number is correct. It's really essential that you get this number, the number on the add-eye row is correct. So we'll go ahead and start. I'll use the needles as a reference. So I'll start with my index finger in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. $100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. $54, $55, $56, $57, $58, $59, $60. And this is where we started. I used the needles as markers, so we're 160 eyes wide now, and that's where I need to be. And then I will do 2 more complete eyes, or 4 more rows below this, do another add-eye, and I'll add another 40. At this point with the net, I'm at 6 feet. This is supposed to be an 8-foot net. I'm going to be starting the skirt now. So right now on these 2 needles is 40-pound test. And remember the rest of the net, in this case, per the customer's request, is 30-pound test. Probably common knowledge, but typically the skirt you want to have as a thicker, stronger line so the fish can't break through there. So they can either get gilled in the skirt or get stuck in the pocket. So the skirt I was taught to make is about 24 inches long, And as I said before at the beginning of the video and other times, there's many different ways to do this. So just because what I'm showing you is what I was taught doesn't mean it's the absolute best way, but it's what I was taught and it seems to work and I like it. But anyways, one thing I like to do too, I learned from my friend who taught me how to sew, is I like to start using the thicker line a little further up from the skirt. So that way when your skirt eyes are going to be a little more reinforced on some stronger line. From what I heard, when you try and do a repair of the skirt eyes attached to the net, it can be kind of a pain, or it's easier to break if you don't reinforce it with a stronger line further up. So I'll do at least 1 row or 2 rows above the skirt of the thicker line. So I'll switch it out from whatever the net was to the net line to the skirt line. So anyways, going with the skirt too, since I do them 24 inches, I learned, the hard way that you actually got to measure from below your pico. So say if this was your pico right here, you don't measure this part for the length of your net. It's actually below the pico. So if this were the pico, below the pico, the knots right there, the 40 or 50 or how many ever knots you did for your pico, you measure from below all the way down to the end of the net there. So, and from what my friend taught me, it's better to be over than under. So, and pretty much that applies for a lot of different things with sewing the net. It's better to be a little over than under, because if a customer requests a 10-foot net, you want to be making them a 10-foot net or 10-2 net instead of, a 9-8 or 9-10 or something like that. But anyways, to the skirt, I prefer to do this skirt. This does those locking at eyes or pu'umana knots that I've done for this net to make it spread. So to start it, it's just like doing your first pu'umana or at eye row on the net. You're going to start your first knot with the at eye knot. So in this case, with a skirt, I'm using larger guides. This is a 6-inch long guide from top to bottom. So I didn't do the math yet, but so the total is going to be 24 inches. I'll probably do like a 6-inch guide to a 5-inch or a 4-inch guide to make something like 10-inch eyes, large eyes on the skirt. And then it'll progressively get smaller and smaller until it goes back to this 3-inch guide or whatever size guide you're using. So anyways, start off the first eye here. It's just like a regular locking at eye. So put the guide in, put the line in the front, go to the back, grab to the right, and the needle is going to go from behind here, pull it down, put some tension with your left hand on the guide, and then I'm going to lock it twice. So my needle hand's going to go under the line, it's going to go behind the 2, pull it through, grab it with my fingers, pull it there, it's 1/2 inch, and then do it again, 2/2 inches. So that's one skirt eye now. Now, this is the tedious thing about doing it this way, but I prefer it this way because I feel like the eyes are more consistently the same size, is I'll alternate between the 2 guides. So this is going to take quite a while longer, but it's just kind of how it is with the skirt. So did 1 eye there, it's going to be 2 eyes of the regular size. So it's essentially having the amount of eyes. Oh wait, gotta go under here. Having the total amount of eyes on the net. So you're gonna go under here now, and it's just a regular knot. So from forward, behind, pinch it, grab the one to the right. Oh wait, sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. Forward, behind, pull down from the eye to the right, from the front, put tension, needle hand under the line, grab the one to the right. It's going to go behind through the one on the right, and then we're going to lock it around the 2. And we're going to do 2 of those. And then since it's been 2 now we're going to take this out, and we're going to do the skirt eye. So again, put the guide in there, line from the front to the back, take some line off the needle there. Grab the one to the right. It's going to go from behind. And I'm not doing this right here. We're just grabbing the one from behind there, the one to the right. And then we're going to double lock it around the two. So hand under the line, around the two, grab it, pull it out, cinch it down. And take your time cinching it down. Make sure the half hitches are on top of each other. And then you'll see right there, it's two skirt eyes with two normal eyes. And again, it's a really good idea to use your thicker line. Do it a couple rows above the skirt, or at least one row, so it kind of reinforces the area where the skirt is attaching to the net. So do a couple more. I gotta pick up my needle. So I just put my needle kind of under my stomach like that, or you can put it in your mouth or whatever, just alternating back and forth. So we're gonna do some regular knots here. And again, this is like a little time consuming. It's gonna take a little longer, but like I said, I prefer to do it this way. The other way to do it would be to sew the entire length of the net and then add the skirt on after, but I don't like that style of knots you got to do on it. It's like the floating add-eye knots that I was taught, and for me it's or from what I was taught, it's kind of difficult to get those nice and straight and consistent as much as this is really consistent, and you're gonna get the same size every time. I really like that. So this is essentially like doing just two knots and an add-eye knot or a pu'umana knot every two. And just take your time doing this. You got to make sure you get the right amount, because if you mess this up and you're halfway down the net, it's going to be a real pain to fix that. So it's extremely essential to take your time and make sure you get it right the first time. So remember, it's add-eye, regular add-eye, and just keep that pattern going. So I'll put the guide under again, the 3-inch guide. Do a couple more eyes, and we'll end it on, oh sorry, that's an add-eye. We'll end it on the next add-eye knot, or skirt knot. Like I said, really important. Take your time. Make sure you're getting the count right. You do not want to make yourself a huge headache and stress and have to undo all those knots. So we did two. Gonna switch, go back to the skirt. And one thing I'll mention too is when you do finish this row, these larger skirt eyes can get in the way of sewing the next couple rows on the net. But I gotta try this trick my friend was saying. My friend was saying he gets like a key ring or a shower curtain ring, and he pretty much gets all these skirt eyes and puts them in the ring, and then they'll be in the center, and then you'll be able to sew your net again. And from what he said, it works really good, so I'm going to try it with this net. I'll show you when I get to when I finish this row how that works. One thing I wanted to mention too, what I usually do is once I finish the first row of the skirt, I'll take these needles off, and then I'll go back to the regular net needle. So this is 30-pound tests, and then I'm going to attach them to the eyes right here between the skirt eyes, and then I'll be sewing the length of the net plus 4 rows or 2 complete eyes. And then once that's done, I'll go back to the skirt. So I'll have to pull out all these eyes here, pull them out between, and then we'll sew the skirt. Once you get the first row done, the rest of the skirt is extremely quick. It's so quick because you're doing huge guides like this, so it's a lot of fun doing the skirt. And then after that, it'll be time to do the lead and flip the net inside out and finish the pico off. So we're almost done by the time we're at the skirt. So like I said, once we finish the first row of the skirt, back to the net, take a little bit of time because we're back to the small eyes. But once you get to that skirt, you're going to blaze through it. Okay, so I finished the first row of the skirt here. I just wanted to show how to end it here. Instead of connecting the two tag lines or needles, I'm going to instead just sew a regular knot to the other eye. So first of all, I'm going to get rid of the tag line from the first needle. Better with nail clippers, but I don't have them on me. And then you're basically just going to sew a regular eye over to the first original eye. So just going to do a regular knot, make sure get all the skirt eye and everything out of the way there. And I'm just going to double lock it. So just make sure, okay. So it's a regular knot, and then just double lock it. So one to the right, and then two around the two. Lock it. Cinch it down nice and good. And then trim off that tag. That 40-pound test needle. And that is the first row. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put that 40-pound test needle back in the bag with the other ones. We'll use these when we return to the skirt later. And we get the 30-pound test needles and get these reattached to the net. We're going to put two. Got a couple needles over here that are low. This is how many needles we've used so far for this net. 30-pound test line is pretty thick. Get our scissors here ready. So just be reattaching to the net. Get all the skirt eyes and everything out of the way, all the clutter. So I'll do a little extra tag line over here, sew backwards, and then we'll attach the other needle so it's not just one huge knot. Tighten that on there. Now we gotta redo that one. That didn't go on right. Didn't lock it on the right spot. Okay, so reattach it. Cinch it down from both ends. I'll just start with doing a couple knots. So you're gonna ignore the skirt eye, just go around it, and you're gonna be sewing the rest of the net. I'll do about that many. And we're gonna sew it backwards. One eye at least. So grab some of the net, flip it over like this. And with this tag line, just gonna do one knot and then we'll attach the other needle. I should have cut more tag line, but this is what I gave myself. So we're just doing our regular knot. I'm going to lock it twice. Then we're going to attach the other needle and sew about 5 knots to the side. Just use my teeth there to cinch it down a little more. Okay. Okay, we're going to cut that tag off and we're going to attach the second needle. Make sure the skirt eyes don't get in the way. They're going to try and get in the way, but just try to get them out. Trim that tag off. We're going to sew, cinch it down a little more. We're going to sew about 5 eyes backwards. Again, like I said, just try to ignore the skirt eyes. Just push them out of the way. Don't worry about them. We're going to sew the length of the net first, and then we'll get back to the skirt. Just try to make sure you're not sewing, locking them in on your net eyes. Pull them out, get them out of the way. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a headache on the first couple rows after the skirt row, but once you get about 2-3 rows down, it's not a problem anymore. You're just absolutely going to make sure you're not getting them mixed into your net. Take your time. I think that was 3. Then we'll do 2 more. Four. And then 5. Using my other fingers to push the skirt away, get them out of the way. And 5 right here. Pull that off the guide. Flip it back, and then I'll line this needle up again, get it out of the way. I'll use a reusable zip tie, just attach that on. Get everything nice and snug, and then that's out of the way. And then we're back to the net. So you can kind of see our progress here. There's the first row of the skirt up there. This is the second row. Like I said, once you get a couple rows down, the skirt eyes won't be much of a problem. What I actually like to do is pull them through and have them all on the inside while you're sewing around. Then they're not in the way as much. And then once we finish the length of the net and then do extra 4 rows or 2 complete eyes, we'll go back to the skirt. We'll pull them all out. Like so, pull them all out, and then we'll be sewing down with the skirt. Okay, so we're at the final row and final eye of the net portion. So just wanted to show you, when you do your final knot, you don't actually want to join the 2 lines. You want to actually just do it like you're doing a normal knot. So I'll show you right here. So this is to actually end the final knot on the net, and even on the skirt. So instead of joining the lines, we're just going to treat it like a regular eye here. We're going to lock it down. Then I usually give it just another extra lock. And there we go. Cut those off. And this is the net portion of the net, if that makes sense, instead of the skirt version. So I'm going to show you how to measure also for the net. So to measure for the net, you'll put your guide in one of the eyes. And typically for me, what I've been taught is the net will typically be, or the skirt will start 2 feet above the net, or about 24 inches. Or in the case of smaller skirts, it'll be a shorter distance. So what I'll do is I'll look for the knots for the skirt. So it's these large ones right here with the skirt eyes kind of sticking through, if you could see that. So what I'll do is I get my tape measure, hook it on the guide, and go all the way up to the knots right there. So this is showing 31 inches. So we'll do the length of the net and then add 4 rows or 2 complete eyes just to create a pocket. So you'll see right here, this is the 24-inch mark. And keep in mind too, this is upside down or backwards. But you'll see here, so see how these eyes are actually shorter than 24 inches. If that's the case with your net, you actually want to do another row, and that it's better to be over and longer with the net than it is to be shorter. So this person wanted an 8-foot net, not a 7'8" or whatever, shorter, you know. So if you see here 24 inches and this is shorter, just do one more row. It's at 25, and then just add 4 more rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see right here is where the skirt eyes are. So you could, if you could have someone hold it from the other end, that would work out nicely, but I don't always have that luxury. What we're going to do, since we completed sewing the net portion, we're going to go back to the skirt. So we'll go up to our skirt eyes that we sewed earlier, as you see here, and we're just going to pull these all out right now. So be careful when you pull it through, that you pull it through the diamond straight. You don't want it wrapping this way or going through a whole different eye or anything like that. You want to take your time here and make sure you pull it right through. The next step will be really critical when you actually start sewing the skirt. You want to make sure these things are not tangled and mixed up in your net. You want to make sure it's nice and straight and organized, I guess you could say. So yeah, just pull them all out. And remember, the skirt is half the amount of eyes of your net. So in the case of this net, there's 320 eyes total. The skirt is half of that, because you see the skirt eyes are every other eye of the net when we attached it. So to be honest, one of my favorite parts of sewing the net is the skirt, because it is so fast, because you're using huge guides, and well, at least I use huge guides for the first portion. And then, yeah, the eyes are bigger, so it's way faster. Oh, and yeah, that's basically repeating what I just said, but the number of eyes is in half. So yeah, the first couple of rows of the skirt is so fast, it's amazing. So once we get all these eyes through, we'll attach a needle and we'll start sewing the skirt. Okay, so we have all our skirt eyes pulled out from the net, and now we're going to attach our needle filled with 40-pound test to the skirt eye here that is made of 40-pound test. So it's just like attaching a needle to any other part of the net. We're going to grab one of the eyes here. I'll hold it open with my finger and put the needle through. Pull that down, create some tension. Pinch that right there. I'm going to do a half hitch around the 2 there. So put the needle hand under the line, put the needle behind the 2 lines, and you're going to grab it, pull it through with your finger so it creates a half hitch there. Cinch that down on the top. We're going to grab our tag line. I'm going to pinch it on both ends there. We're going to have our needle hand or needle line go around the 3 now. So it's going to go behind the 3, grab it with our fingers. We're going to pull it down and got to make sure that half hitch stays on top of that other half hitch so it locks correctly. Okay. So our first eye here was we used a 6-inch guide for it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use a 4-inch guide, and it's going to get progressively smaller and smaller as we go down the net or the skirt. And what that's going to do is it's going to create large eyes at the top of the skirt for large fish to swim through, and it's going to create smaller eyes near the bottom to create a pocket so fish get stuck in there. So if fish don't get gilled in the eyes of the net, they either will get gilled in the skirt or will just get stuck in the pocket. And when fish are stuck in the pocket, it's really easy to untangle them from the net, which is really nice. But fish like hole hole are still going to get really stuck in your eyes, from my experience. Anyways, so, and then to kind of show you, I have a template here. So the skirts I was taught to make on nets that are 7 feet and bigger are typically 24 inches long. So you'll have to do some math before you start the skirt with your guides to get it to 24 inches long. And just like the net, if it's better to be a little longer than a little shorter. So if you can't get the skirt to 24 inches, it's better to be 25 inches than say 23 inches. Just like the net, it's better to be a little longer than shorter. So I'm going to show you a little diagram here. I wrote in my notes in the past of example guides for a skirt. Unfortunately, this is a 3-inch eye net, so it might be a little hard to see on the camera, but if you see right here, it totals to a little over 25 inches in length right over here. But what we're going to do is we started with a 6-inch guide right there. We're going to use the 4-inch right here. We're going to use 2 3-inch guides, and on the third row of the 3-inch we're going to add eye or pu'umana. We're going to double it back up to the skirt, to the net. So right now the skirt is larger eyes with the number of eyes on the net cut in half. So the net is 320 eyes. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at mental math, but basically the skirt right now is half of 320 eyes. And then once we get to this third row of 3-inch eye here, or the guide, we're going to double it back up to the number of eyes on the net. And then we're going to switch back to our regular net guide. So in this case, 1.5-inch guide for making 3-inch eyes. So the 3-inch guide here is going to be making 6-inch eyes. So you'll see, so the original 6 and 4-inch guides right here is going to make 10-inch size eyes. And that's again for the larger fish to swim through. And then it's going to get progressively smaller. It'll be 3-inch or 6-inch eyes right here. And then it'll be getting smaller and smaller until it gets to the 3-inch eyes of this net. So if you're using a different size guide, like a 2 3/4-inch eye guide, or a guide for 2 3/4-inch eyes, or 4-inch, or whichever, you have to calculate accordingly. Again, this is what I was taught. Everyone has a different theory or style of how to do the skirt. I like this style. I've seen other people where they just go keep it large just for a couple rows, and then they just go really small, or back to their, not really small, but back to their net size eyes. But yeah, do what you like. It's all preference. So turn that off there. I'm gonna get our guide here, 4-inch guide. And from this part, it's just like sewing regularly on the net, and this is why I like doing this style of skirt. The other style of skirt I was taught, which I may show in another video, is you sew the skirt on after the net is complete, and you don't do it like this. You just do it where it's just the net and then you attach it. I don't like that style because from what I was taught, you're kind of estimating when you're attaching the knots, and I didn't like it. It was harder to get it consistent and straight as opposed to this. This is just consistent like regular sewing. So the first row of the skirt, you have to take your time. Again, really make sure that your skirt eyes here are coming out of your net eyes correctly. You do not want them twisting around the eyes like so. You don't want them like that. You want to have them straight through. So really take your time with the first row, or I guess you could say the second row of the skirt. And then when you do it too, I like to make sure that the eyes here are not twisted up. So just make sure it's kind of nice and straight, untwisted. And then it's just the regular sewing knot. So I'm going to pull it through. And again, there's so many different styles of knots you can do. But this is the one I'm doing right now for the skirt. So I pull it through, and then I'm going to have the needle go through behind the two lines, creating a half hitch. Be careful to get that half hitch locked on top. And then you're just going to do another locking half hitch on top of that. And stitch it down nice and tight because this is a 40-pound test. When you stretch the net too and spray it with soapy hot water, it'll help cinch these down even more. Well, yeah, so the skirt, once you get past this second row, it'll get much faster because you're using large guides. This first row though, it's just, you got to be careful, take your time, make sure everything's straight, organized, because you don't want to have to go back and fix all this, and make sure your math is right on your skirt, because again, it's a pain in the ass to have to fix it. I've been there, I've done that. You want to really take your time. And then with the skirt, when I finish the row, I'm not going to sew backwards because this line is already so strong. You're just going to join the line and just go straight down, and it's going to create a seam. But again, like I said, this is a really strong line. You don't need to be sewing backwards. I mean, you can if you want to, but I was taught not to. And like I said, just really make sure, see how this is twisted up here? Just untwist it and make sure it's coming out of the net eyes cleanly, because you do not want to have to fix this later. It's better to get everything done right the first time than to have to fix it later. I'm telling you, speaking from experience, I've had to do it. So just take your time, and you'll see why the skirt is my favorite part of the net to do, because it's just blazing fast after this row. Okay, so we're down to the final eye or knot of the entire skirt. So just like the net, you don't want to connect the two lines. You want to just sew it, end the row like you're just sewing a regular eye. So we're going to put our gauge in, and we're just going to do a regular knot. And then I'll probably just do a extra couple half hitches just to make sure that thing is locked on there good. Yeah, I'll just do it one extra. And then, yeah, we just have to cut the two needle lines here, and we're that much closer to having the net finished. What I'm going to do next is stretch the net for probably a couple days, pour hot water on it every couple hours, and then we'll be attaching the lead. Okay, so I'm going to show you the completed skirt right here. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you could see it in the paper diagram from earlier, but anyways, so remember now when we did this skirt, the first row of the skirt here was actually done off the net. So we did 2 regular knots, add eye or pu'umana for the skirt, 2 regular knots, add eye, and we did that for the whole net for the skirt. Yeah. So the first row was done with this 6-inch guide right here. So as you can see, it would fit right in there. It was a 6-inch guide right here. The second row was the 4-inch guide. So the 6 actually doubles as a 4, the way my friend made it. So it's 4-inch. So it started with 6, went 4, and then it went to the 3-inch guide right here. So 3-inch, 3-inch, and then 3-inch, and this is where we added eye again, or pu'umana, to double it back up. And then we went back to our regular 1.5-inch guide to make 3-inch eyes on this net. And we did 4 rows of this one, or 2 complete diamonds, as you could see right here, to make this style skirt. So this skirt totals in a little over 24 inches, I believe it was 25 inches. And that's kind of our goal, at least with the style skirt I've been taught to make, for anything that's bigger than like a 7-foot net all the way to, say, a 10-foot net or 11-foot net. So again, the formula for this skirt, since it's 3-inch eyes, is a 6-inch guide, 4-inch guide, 3-inch for 3 rows, so 1, 2, 3, and this is the add eye row, so it's going to double the amount of eyes on the skirt back to the number of eyes on the net. And then we're going to use our 1.5, and this creates a pocket, so the fish don't, so like larger fish can swim through these larger skirt eyes and they can get stuck in this pocket here, or smaller fish or medium-sized, decent-sized fish can either get gilled in this part of the skirt, or again just get stuck in this pocket, because remember, the net is on the other side of the skirt, so when the fish goes through, like I said, it's either going to get gilled in the net or it's going to get stuck in this pocket. And that's the theory behind this style skirt. Since we've completed sewing the net and the skirt, we're going to give it a stretch so all these knots can cinch down real tight. And so stretch it. I'm going to be using steel rods with weights for like a bench press to stretch it, and I'm going to hang it for probably a couple days and pour hot water on it. The hot water will make it feel softer and the line will look straighter. So as you see, kind of now it's all like kind of twisted and like mangled looking, just from sewing and transport and everything. But after the stretch with the hot water, this thing is going to look like it's machine made. But anyways, so I use paracord to thread through the eyes before I put the stainless steel rod through it. So to put the rope or paracord or whatever through, it's different on the net than it is the skirt. So the net, you're basically going to double up the net like so, like make it flat or sandwich it, and the eyes are going to go, the rope is going to go back and forth through it. Whereas with the skirt, instead of doubling it up like this, like sandwiching it, it's just going to go back and forth individual eyes. So right now, let's go ahead and start doing the net portion. So grab one eye, and what you're going to do is fold the net here, or sandwich it, as you can see like this, and just line up the eyes. See? So it's kind of folded in half here. So it's like, imagine paper, you're folding paper in half. That's kind of what you're doing here. So we're going to put the paracord through one eye here, and we're going to sandwich or fold the net, and take your time here, make sure you're actually doubling up the eyes here, or grabbing them correctly. And you're basically just going to weave them under and over it. So it's through that one, we're going to go over and under those. And we're going to do this for the whole entire net. And just take your time with this. Make sure you're getting the paracord through all of these eyes, and that you have it doubled up correctly. So you'll see I use my fingers on my left hand to try and get it lined up correctly. Okay, so we're coming up to the end here. What I'll do too, if it starts getting a little hard to pull it through, I'll just kind of slide the net down the line, kind of give you a little more slack. Just be patient with this, just like the rest of the net. It takes patience. Just make sure these eyes are lining up and you're getting them all. So I'll even grab the left part of the net, as you see, kind of pull it, create some tension, just so I can line up the eyes correctly. And we're down to the last eye. Just pull that through. And so from this point, if you actually have a high enough roof or ceiling, you could actually stretch the net just with this paracord. You would pretty much just make a loop at the bottom here and just put a big dumbbell or some kind of weight down there and stretch it, car battery, whatever, cinder block. But when you stretch it, just make sure the rope here is at the bottom of all these eyes. So what I'll do is I'll just grab in the middle somewhere and just keep kind of fishing it down, pulling it down and work it down. It's kind of hard where I'm sitting right now. It's this net is kind of taking up my whole eye, so it's kind of hard for me to put tension and get it down. But you can kind of see just from putting my fingers in the eyes and pushing down and pulling the net, I could get it more to the bottom, and that's what you want. You want tension on all these eyes, on all the knots on the net, so it gets a good proper stretch in. But I'm not stretching it this way, but I'm just kind of showing you as an example. And you could even put your finger on the top and kind of pull up to kind of get them up there. But you kind of get the idea there. But for now, I'm just going to knot this off. I'm actually going to put a different paracorder in there because I need this longer one. Or maybe I'll just keep this one in there, honestly. But so from here, I'm just going to grab the both lines and just do a half hitch on itself. So like this, make a loop and pull it through. Or just a little knot like that, yeah. And like I said, if you have a high enough ceiling or roof or whatever, lanai, railing, at this point you could just hang the net and stretch it. Just put a dumbbell right in this loop right here and let it hang. And you want to do that for the skirt too. So right now, I'm going to leave that since that's nice and secure. It's not going to come out. And go to the skirt. And like I said, from here, got some other paracord. It's a little shorter here. From here, instead of sandwiching it, we're going to just go one by one through the eyes. And ideally, you'd want to like cut it in half. So if this is, I gotta do the math right here, but the total number, or yeah, this is doubled back up to the number of eyes on the net. So if we're doing, if it's 320 divided by 2, because it's 320 eyes, it's 160 eyes. So the same amount is up here on the skirt. So technically what we would do is get our line here and just go back and forth through 160 eyes. And then we would put a rod through that side and a rod on the other side, and then we'll stretch it. I'll show you, it'll kind of make more sense as you keep watching. So yeah, we'll get our line here. We're just going to weave it back and forth. And you'll see it's all on there. So we'll do 160 of those on one side and then on the other. Okay, so we made it through our last eye, and the same thing. Just do a little knot on itself, or half hitch, or something like that. Now we're gonna hang it up and stretch. So In my case, my ceiling here on my lanai is only 8 feet, so this is an 8-foot net. I'm not going to have enough space to get the dumbbells on it, or the plates, that is, the weighted plates on it. So I'm going to try something new. I've seen other people, I don't know if you can kind of see here, I have a mounting eye or hook right there, and one over there with some paracord on it. I'm going to mount the pico of the net there, and then I'm going to have it go through some paracord over there, hang down, and then I'll put the rods on. So this will be a first for me, stretching it like this. As I said, my ceiling is not tall enough. I'm not blessed with a high balcony or lanai or whatever to be able to do it a different way. So I'll just tighten this part up a little. Not that much. Get some tension on there. We're going to get our net. Gotta tell which part's the net and which is the skirt. Get our net portion here separated. And we'll get a rod through here. Pull out the line, replace it with the rod. But for now, we're just gonna make sure all the eyes of the net, or this rope, is at the bottom of all these eyes. So I'm just gonna grab in the middle there, kind of move it back and forth, put my fingers in there, stretch it out, just try to get to the bottom of these eyes. As you can see, this is the goal right here. We just got to work our way down. Just get my finger in the eyes, wiggle them back and forth in there while putting tension on that line on the rope with my other finger. Just keep working our way down until we get all of them. That's about okay for now. So as I pull my finger out, you'll see the opening there. I'll get the line here and kind of move it back and forth just to try and open it up. And then I'll put the rod in there. Trying to keep it open with my finger. So we're gonna get the rod. I don't remember the thickness, but I just found one of the most sturdy ones I could find at Home Depot. And we're just gonna slip it through there with our finger. And bam. Now we're gonna pull out the line. But I'm not going to pull it out just yet because I'm going to try and get the skirt on there now too. So I'm just spreading that out. I'm going to get the other two rods here for the skirt. We're going to do the same thing for the skirt. And let's hope the rod for the net doesn't come out. Okay, so we're going to get our skirt eyes. Do virtually the same thing. This is actually a first for me, like I said, doing the skirt and the net at the same time with this kind of gravity method of stretching. Okay, so now that we have our net on, we're gonna thread this through the skirt. So again, instead of sandwiching it like the net for the skirt, we're just gonna go one layer all the way around. So we'll put the rope or the paracord through one eye, and we're just gonna go down and under through two at a time. And we're just gonna do this for the whole entire skirt. I'll skip to the end right here so you don't have to watch this whole part. Okay, so I was going to try and use paracord to attach to the skirt and then replace it with the bar. But I think in this case I'm just going to do the bar only. So I'll kind of estimate where the skirt and net join right here to split it in half. I'll kind of go right about here because it looks like it lines up with the bar. So I'm just going to follow my way down the skirt here to about this eye right here. I'm going to get a rod and I'm just going to start threading it through these eyes. And I'll do it until it looks like it gets to the other half of the net. So you'll see I'm grabbing two eyes at a time. It's going under the one to the right and then out the one to the left. So this is different from the net. We're not sandwiching or folding the net in half or the skirt like the net. We're just doing one layer at a time. We want to make sure we get a good even stretch on the skirt along with the net. And to kind of take the pressure off me, what I'm doing is resting this bar on a bucket over there. That way you don't have this oblong weight or uneven weight stressing out or putting stress on your hands or the skirt or anything like that. So go ahead and fast forward to when this part's done and show the other side. Okay, so it looks like we're at the halfway point here, just matching the skirt up to where it meets with the net, kind of on top of the rod. So I'll just put two more on. Just kind of look here, follow it up, see where it is. Maybe just one more set right here. So I'm going to slide these skirt eyes over to the middle of the bar and spread it out so the bar can't fall out. Because if it's teeter-totter, you know, if it's on one side and it's lopsided, it's going to fall over. So right now we're just going to do the opposite or do the same thing on the rest of the skirt. So I'll grab my rod here and I'll do the same thing. I'm going to rest it on the butt end of the rod on the bucket there. And I'm going to grab this side. Feed the rod through carefully. Don't want these rods falling out with all the hard work and time you're putting in, and that's why I spread the eyes apart on them pretty far apart just so it balances. So again, I'll fast forward to the end of this portion. Okay, we're nearing the end, getting some tension here. And we're there. So let's slide our eyes over to the middle. Let's make sure our pipes, all the lines are at the bottom of the pipes here. So I'm just kind of patting it down, trying to get them all flat on there. And then with the net, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and get them all evenly distributed here, flat. Try not to have them cross over. And what we'll do is we don't want to have them spread out like this. We want to have them kind of in a straight line. So at the same time, you want to also make sure that the rod the weight is evenly distributed, because you don't want all the plates falling off or slipping off when you actually start loading the bar. Okay, so we're going to do see, like right there, it's kind of leaning to the left there, so I'll just move these over to the right a little. So same thing with the skirt. We're going to try to move those a little in the center of the bar. So in this case, I'm going to move them this way, go to the other part of the skirt. Just want to make sure everything gets a nice even stretch. There we go, about. And then we're going to go ahead and start putting the plates on, loading it up. So we'll start with the net. I'm going to slide some 10-pound plates on. So I'll put one on that side. I'm going to hold the other side, slide one on this side. So I'm counterbalancing it right now. So we got two right there. Put a couple more. Yeah, so I'll just be really careful going to the other side now, putting weight on it to keep it from falling over. Put this weight on, slide it over carefully. Make sure it's balanced. Okay. And let's start doing the skirt. Put these just a little closer. There we go, balance there. We're gonna get the skirt. We're gonna put these two rods together. We're gonna slide, hopefully we can slide yeah, we can slide a weight on there on that side. Go to the other side, put weight on it downwards, as you see I'm doing. Slide a plate over here. Just make sure it's balanced. There we go. I'm gonna go get some more plates, put some more weight on here. So I got two more 10-pound weights here. See the skirt's kind of sliding off there. So I'll put this 10-pound on over here. I'll put weight on this side so it doesn't fall over. I'm gonna put this 10 on over here. So we currently have about 60 pounds of weight on the net right now. See how it looks? You kind of want it in a straight line. We don't want it coned out too wide. I'm gonna try and put some 5-pound weights on the ends. I'm out of 10s. Okay, to make hot water for the net, to pour on it while it's stretching, I like to use this water kettle I got from Costco. I put it on the delicate setting, which is 160 degrees. Just wait for that to cook and be ready to pour on the net. I believe boiling is 210 degrees, so that probably wouldn't be a good idea to pour on the net while it's stretching. That's probably going to rip it. But from my experience with the past couple nets, pouring this 160 degree water on it doesn't seem to damage it at all. It seems perfectly fine. And as I said, it'll make the net after the stretch seem like it was machine made. It'll be very nice and straight. Now that the water is heated up to 160, I'm going to go ahead and start pouring it on the net and skirt. When I sew nets, I typically stretch it and pour hot water on it through the whole process of making the net. So I'm not going to do the top part because I've already done it all up until about this point. So I'm just going to pour it on. And pouring this water on, I haven't noticed any discoloration in this blue pigment line from Andy. So seems like it's fine. Like I said, once we're done with the stretching process and pouring water on it, it is going to be so damn straight, it's going to look machine made. You see, it's hot enough, or it's cool enough that it doesn't hurt me if I try to touch it. It's only 160 degrees. I haven't tried pouring it on my hand yet though. But anyways, I'll come back in about an hour or so and pour some more hot water on it again. And I'll keep doing that until it's done stretching. I'll probably stretch it just overnight and for a couple hours into the morning tomorrow. So I took the rods off, the weights off, and here's the net now. You can see how straight it is now. Look how nice this is. Don't mind the puddles of water underneath there, but that's just from pouring all the hot water on it every few hours or so. But yeah, see how nice and straight that looks? Look at that, the skirt, the net. Look at that, makes it look machine made. I learned this trick off somebody from the Throw Net group on Facebook, the Hawaii Throw Net group, and it works so good. It definitely makes sewing future rows, or even in this case the lead, much easier, because it's just way more straighter, flatter, uniform. It's really nice. This is why when I sew nets, I typically will stretch it and put hot water every, like, I don't know, a couple feet or so. It's just kind of whenever I feel like it. I don't really have a set rule for it, but this is what will give it that machine made look. It's really nice. And then I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but when you attach your net to stretch, make sure you're using the carabiner from your pico, not key rings, because if you use key rings and try to stretch it, it's gonna break the key rings. I say that from experience. So make sure you get the key rings off, use a carabiner instead. A carabiner that's rated for at least, I don't know, 100, 150 pounds, depending on how much you're stretching or weighing down the net to stretch it. Okay, so this is my lead melting setup right here. I'll show you the pieces of equipment you need in order to get started with this and do this. With melting lead, it's extremely important to be safe. Safety is the most important thing. You'll need equipment like gloves here, a respirator, which I'm not wearing now so you can hear me correctly. You want to get one for vapor. These 3M60923 filters you'll want to use, and you'll want to replace them every so often. Don't cheap out on a respirator. Don't use a particle mask, because that won't do anything with the vapors from this. You need to use a mask like this. A COVID mask not going to do shit either. You need to get a proper mask. I got two fans, one fan there, one fan there. Trade winds are blowing through and away from me. You want to make sure the wind is blowing away. You don't want to be inhaling this shit. It's extremely toxic. You could die, and other people can too. You need to be careful. I used to use, when I started, I used to use these gloves over here. These are really heavy duty gloves. These are the Tillman 822Ls. The thing with these, molten lead can land on it and it won't burn through, and you won't even feel it. I had it happen one time when I was starting out. The only thing that's wrong with these gloves is you have no dexterity, no coordination, so they suck in that aspect. I probably wouldn't waste your time getting these unless somebody you know has a pair they'll give you. Otherwise, I'll just get normal kind of gloves. So the gloves I use now are these Tillman 24cm ones. I think these are kid skin or goat skin. These have more dexterity. However, you do go through them a little quicker. I think they last me about 3 months or so. At first, they have great heat tolerance resistance. You could handle really hot lead with your fingers with these on, but eventually it'll get thinner and it'll start to burn your hands. And that'll be the time to replace them. You probably shouldn't be handling lead with your gloved hands anyway, but I do. When you're making canoe lead, you'll be able to tell what's old lead versus new lead. Older lead will be gray like this. Still good, it's just gray. Newer lead will be silver and shiny like this. All lead will eventually turn gray, and there's no way around it. The moment it's exposed to air, water, moisture, it turns gray. The equipment I use are diagonal cutters to cut the nub or nipple off the lead, off the bottom of the lead. You'll need a spoon to scrape slag off the top of your molten lead. You'll need a mold. You'll need a can or a pan or something to dump the slag into. That's all the rubbish that floats on the surface. You don't need a pot. And I already showed you mask, gloves. It's pretty much what you need. You could use a face shield or goggles too if you want. Probably a good idea to wear goggles. You never know, it's always good to be safe. And you need to make sure your work area is completely void of moisture. You don't want any puddles of water, water drops, anything like that, because molten lead is like oil in a pan, hot oil. The moment water touches that, it's going to splatter. And lead melts at 600 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want that going on your skin or your eyes or your face or anything like that. You need to be really careful when working with this stuff. It is dangerous. So you need to respect it and be safe. Lead, you'll need lead ingots or lead to melt, obviously. I get these from rotometals.com. I believe it's anywhere from $2 to $4 for a pound of these lead ingots. These are pure. Definitely want to use pure lead when you're making canoe lead or tube lead for a throw net. If you use hard lead, like from tire weights, or I believe even car batteries possibly, but definitely tire weights, don't want to use that stuff because it's going to make your lead real brittle and hard. So if it cracks the reef enough or the rocks, it's going to crack off, and now you got to fix your lead line and replace the lead. So to save yourself headache, get pure lead. Don't even mess around. So the way you know you have pure lead is, or soft lead, is you'll be able to bend your lead. So if I just put pressure, you'll see I could bend it. And that's how you know you got pure lead. If you can't bend that thing, putting pressure, that's hard lead. You don't want to use that. You don't want to buy any nets with that shit on it, because it's going to crack eventually and break off, and now you're going to be out of luck. So you want to use pure lead, and you can bend it back. I'm actually going to remelt this. I'm going to put this in a pot. So I'll show you the process of how I like to make lead. This is what I do after I've had lead melted here, which, by the way, melting, when you initially start it, it could take 15 to 30 minutes for it to actually melt. Once it's melted, it'll be much quicker to melt more lead in there. So this is my process right here. I have some already loaded up in the mold. Pull these pins out. I'm gonna pop these out with my gloves because I poured it good. Otherwise you could use diagonal cutters. Pins back in the mold. I'm gonna squeeze the mold handle real tight. We're going to pour the lead in. You want to pour it in as quick as you can without making a mess. The quicker the better. You want your mold nice and hot. You want that lead to be nice and hot in there so you get a nice pour. It'll take some practice, but you'll get it eventually. We could get a nice consistent pour. So see right there, I poured a little too much right there, so that's going to slow me down a little. So I'm going to hold this, put this over here, and let that cool off. And while that's cooling, I'm going to inspect these, cut these little nubs off. So I get the diagonal cutter as close as I can. We'll bring it to the pot, cut it right in. We're going to pound that down flat, nice and blunt. Make sure it's nice and flat over there, so I pound it kind of away. And you see this part here? You could either cut it off if it's really big, or I'll just kind of pound it down away like that. And it's not going to affect the weight that much. It's not going to get in the way of when you put your lead line on. And I'll put that over here in the done pile. Inspect this really quick. You want to look for cracks. If you see holes or cracks, put that right back in the pot. Remelt it. You don't want to use that. You want to make sure it's nice and solid. So I'm going to go by the pot, cut it off nice and close, drop it in, pound that that sharp part down, pound down these little parts. See how it's on the edge right there? Pound those down. I'm going to cut this one off. And I'm going to pound that down. There we go. We got a nice finished one here. What I like to do is I like to pile them up in a row of 10. And I'll slide them over here. As you see, I got 50 over here. So I know these are all 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I'll just keep lining up like that. So when I'm making these for, say, myself or a customer, I'll line this up so it's you can easily tell how many you have. And then right here, we're gonna take these out of the mold. These pull pins are in there pretty good because I was letting this mold sit while I was getting the camera. I'm gonna put these scraps in here in the pot. So you see with this one, I'm not going to be able to slide it out with my finger because I did a crappy pour. So I'm going to get my diagonal cutters here, grab the lip, I'm just going to wiggle it out. This one, I could just push out with my finger. Okay, so I'll put those on the side, pins back in, get another fill, and we'll just keep rotating and doing this on and on until I get the required amount of lead. So right now you see all this stuff on the top that's slag. You want to get that rubbish out. You want to scrape it out with your spoon. Put that in your pan or can or pot, whatever you're using. Pour this in here quick as you can. Try not to let it overflow. We'll let it cool for a sec, or like 5 seconds. Flip it. Pour it in, another one. Quick as you can. Put that over, let that cool. Inspect these really quick. Again, we're going to cut these little nipples off. So I'll usually put a tablet over there, put some headphones in, listen to some music, or watch a show, something that doesn't take all of my focus. And it just kind of makes this go by a little quicker. It's a great way to keep up on your shows or podcasts. So I'm just doing a little one over, quick little look. Looks good, no holes. Pop that in our pot, make that blunt, flip it over, see that edge right there, pound that down, there we go. And once I get 10, I'm going to slide it over and just line it up as you see over there, and that's how you do it, that's how you make them. I also wanted to mention, if you want to get one of these molds, Brock Fee, who lives in Honolulu, makes these molds for about $200. They come with pull pins. They don't come with handles. You'll have to get one yourself. So these are aluminum molds. So I had to pay $200 for the mold, about $60 for the smithing tongs, and then I had to pay $100 for a welder to attach these on. Aluminum doesn't weld to steel, at least nicely. Many welders won't do that. Aluminum only welds to aluminum. So they had to jimmy rig this to make it work, but it works. So if you do want to get a mold yourself, you can contact Brock Fee. His Instagram handle is @RocketReels, and you can mess with him on there and do some kind of custom mold with him if you want. He does other kind of molds too, say for Newell reels, conventional reels, automotive parts, I believe. He has a CNC mill and can make these. CNC mills are not cheap. That's why these molds aren't cheap. CNC mills could run a couple thousand just for an entry-level one. So it's actually a pretty decent price if we're getting it for 200. But again, it's just a handle thing. It's nice to have a handle. Okay, so before I actually start attaching the lead or lead line to the net, I'll slide the canoe lead onto the lead line, and since this is an 8-foot net, I'm going to be using 350-pound test. Typically, from what I've been taught, anything from 7 foot and over, we use 350-pound test mono, and then anything smaller than that for, like, say, children, they'll use like 150-pound test or 200-pound test. And then the mono I use is, I think it's called Big Game. I get it from Walmart. And then it doesn't come on a spool. So if you get a chance, if you ever get big, like half-pound, 1-pound spools or whatever, for sewing your nets, keep those spools when they run out, because you could use those spools to fill up with that thick mono in case that thick mono doesn't come in a spool. Because I'm telling you, it's a real pain in the ass when it's not on a spool. It gets so damn tangled. For the past 10 nets I've made, this is the first time I finally spooled it up on a spool, and I could tell you it's just a real pain in the ass when it's not on a spool. So let me get the canoe lead here. This is canoe lead I make. Currently I have a mold for 2 ounce and 1.6 ounce. So 2 ounce is also known as size 8, so 8 makes 1 pound, or 1.6 makes a pound, is 10 makes 1 pound. So this is 2 ounce right here. So canoe lead, it's either, you'll see it, it's kind of, I think, white. It's got some white spots on it because there's some salt water that splashed in there. But when it's brand new, it's silver and shiny, real shiny and silver. But the thing is the moment it's exposed to air or water or moisture, it's going to discolor and turn gray, just like any typical fishing lead. So it's not going to stay silver and shiny forever. The moment you get that thing in the water, or like I said, exposed to air, it's going to turn gray. So anyways, this particular net is 320 eyes, and again, just as I've mentioned it before, there's many different ways to sew nets, and even when it comes to putting on lead, there's many different ways to put on lead, and the calculations and formulas for how many to use and how many eyes to put between each lead or on the lead. And again, there's tube lead too. Some people prefer tube lead over canoe lead. I was only taught how to do canoe lead. I don't know how to do tube lead yet. I have an idea, but anyway, so when we do tube lead, we divide to know the amount of canoe lead. To determine how many canoe lead are supposed to be on the net, we divide the total amount of eyes on the net by 4. So this particular net is going to be 320 eyes. So we're going to get our calculator out here. 320 divided by 4. We're going to need 80 pieces of canoe lead. So I typically would just put 80 in a bag, say, and count them out so I can't mess it up. But this is about a bag of 100, and I'm just going to count them as I put them on. So anyways, super easy. You get your spool, or however your mono line is. I should probably get a chopstick or something, but I'll just put it between my feet. So yeah, you're just feeding the canoe lead onto the line. And just do it until you have the required amount. And you could either put this in a bucket or a bag or just on the ground. I typically will just put it in a bag. And yeah, so just fill up 80 of these and it'll be ready for the net, for this net that is. So when you're at the end of making the net, we're going to attach the lead line. So the first thing we need to do is line up our skirt eyes with our net eyes. So to do that, you want to use some kind of clip or something to hold your place so you don't lose your place. I'm going to go up to the skirt here, and you see how the skirt meets the net right here. You want to get one of these lines here, or these eyes, and you want to follow it vertically down to the bottom of the net and skirt. So I'm going to choose randomly this line right here, And I'm gonna use these diamonds or eyes and follow these knots, these vertical knots downwards. So what I'm gonna do first is follow the net down. So take your time with this. You want to make sure that they're lining up properly. And if you have the correct number of eyes, it should land at the bottom of an eye, not a joint part right here between the eyes. That's how you know you have the correct amount of eyes on your net. Okay, so we're gonna put our marker here, our clip. You use any kind of clip. You can use tape. Sometimes I use tape. So I'm gonna follow it back up just to make sure I'm on the correct one. And then I'll do the same with the skirt. It's easier with the skirt because it's larger eyes and it's less eyes. So I'm just slowly going up, just keeping an eye on these knots here in the eyes vertically. And right here, this goes to the skirt. This is the skirt eye. Now we're going to follow it vertically down here, slowly. And it's going to end right here. And so now we're going to get our clip here, which is a little tangled up. Let's just carefully untangle this. What is going on here? It's going through an eye. Okay, and then we're gonna clip these two together. Now that our net and skirt eyes are lined up. So before you even get to this point, or before you're even stretching your net, you want to make sure that the total number of eyes is on the net and the skirt. So in this case, this is an 8-foot net. The total width should be 320 eyes from what I've been taught. So this is 320 eyes. You'll know if your eye count is off if when you come down from the skirt or the net and you, instead of landing on an eye, you land on a joint here between the eye or not between the eye. Either you didn't line it up properly or your count is off. So you're short a certain amount of eyes. So you can still sew the lead on, but you're going to be short one of these eyes when you connect it to the lead line. So you just gotta, like I said many times, just really take your time, be precise, double check, make sure the count is correct. And yeah. So anyways, we're lined up here. Oh, and then going back to if your count is uneven, you could also add eyes later on if you want, if you have to correct that mistake, or like I said, you could just sew it on regardless. So let me just check this out. This is kind of twisted up for some reason right now. Let me see this. Take the skirt eye off, hold my place. I think it got a little twisted. There we go. I'll put that back on. This is not the best carabiner right here. This thing's got a broken spring on it. Okay, so we'll just kind of hold that in place right there. So you want a needle filled with 40-pound test. Definitely don't want to use anything less than 40. You want pretty strong line when you're connecting it to your lead line. Your heavy duty 350-pound test or 250 or 150-pound test. In this case, we're using 350-pound test. So you'll see I have my lead line filled with the lead already on the floor. What I'm going to do is get some of the tag line here. Sorry if it's hard to see. And then I'm just going to slide some of these canoe lead up towards this tag line. This is just what I was taught, so. Okay, so I'm gonna slide it up here, get it closer to the end of the tag line, and I'm gonna let it hang over my leg. And it's gonna create some tension right here. So what you wanna do is you wanna have probably about like this much tag line. Maybe, what is this, like half foot, a foot? Just have about a foot of tag line. grab your needle with your 40-pound test. And what we're going to do, so we'll put the marked net and skirt down for now. Okay, so to start it, we'll be doing 3 half hitches to lock our 40-pound test needle on here. So it's going to basically be alternating between under and overhand half hitches. So for this one, we'll do 1 underhand half hitch. I'm going to slide this tag line up here. Another underhand, so I'm going under the line, pulling it through the loop here. Pulling that nice and tight. Then we're going to end it with an overhand. So we're going to go from behind here. We're going to go through the loop. We're going to cinch that down tight. So we're going to pull up and over to get that in there. Dig that into that mono. And then we're going to do that on the tag end. We're going to go the opposite. Pull it down and to the right. So that we got that locked on now. So we're going to slide our canoe lead over, and now we're going to lock it on the other end of the canoe lead, on this end. So I'm going to do 2 under through the loop, and then end it with 1 over. And you're pretty much just going to be doing a combination of that. So I'm going to go under the lead line, through the loop, pull it up close and over, cinch it down nice and tight, and then 1 over. And now you have a lead secured on, and we're going to start attaching the skirt and net to it. Let's get this part cinched down again. There we go. Okay, so we're going to grab our net where we marked it. We're going to take it off. We're going to pinch it, take it off the marker or clip or whatever you're using, tape, and then grab our lead line. And what we're going to do is the needle is going to go from behind the net and the skirt. You're going to pull it through. And what you're going to do is 3 half hitches in the middle of the canoe lead. So I like to do under. It's under, over, over. So we're going to go under here, pull it down. We're going to slide it to the middle of the canoe lead right there. Cinch it down nice and tight. We're going to go over to the left of that half hitch. Pull it through the loop right there. Cinch it down nice and tight to the right. We're going to go now to the right side of this knot. And we're going to go under through the loop. Pull it nice and tight up and out, and then you could kind of see the skirt and the net right there can kind of slide around on top there. Okay, so then you got to be really careful. Take your time as you're going to the right, attaching the net and skirt, that you're grabbing the correct eyes. So make sure they're doubled up here. We're grabbing the eyes right here to the right of those. And we're basically going to do the same thing. So we're going to go under right here, pull that nice and tight. And it's gonna, this is where it's good. You want tension with this lead line. You want to have lead on there kind of close to your leg and create tension. You could even put this line to your toes or put it in a bucket, anything to put tension on. So you want tension. So I'm going to do that half hitch right there. And then I'll kind of pinch it, slide it to the left a little, the lead line that is, so it's a little easier to get the needle under. Do another half hitch. Pull that tight to the right. And we'll just do one more. Cinch that down nice and tight. I'm going to pull that over, and now we're going to lock it on the other side of the canoe lead right here. So I'm going to be pulling this line over here and making sure there's tension on the lead line going this way too. And I'm going to do 2 unders and 1 over to lock it. So I'm going to go around here with the needle, pull it through the loop, slide this up to the end of the canoe lead, cinch it down nice and tight like that. Do another one, cinch it down nice and tight. Then we're going to do, instead of under, we're going to do an over to lock it. We're going to pull that over, and again pull up and out to the right, cinch it down nice and tight. And this is how it should look when it's on the net. It's locked on both sides. So now we're going to grab some more to the right here. So this is going to be between the canoe lead. So we're going to grab 2 eyes right here. We're going to go from behind with the needle. And again, we're going to do half hitches here. So with this, what my friend taught me is, we got the same size fingers, I guess, or width fingers. We do a 2 finger length between these 2 knots right here, between the canoe lead. So just go over a little more. Then we're going to cinch that down nice and tight. We're going to do 1 over on the left side, and then 1 under on the right side to lock it. Right there. So you could do whatever kind of combination of half hitches on when you're doing the lead line. The main thing is though, is you want your needle line connecting the net and skirt to the lead line. You want it to be resting above your heavy mono. That's the whole point of it. You want to make sure it's resting above. And the whole thing with this finger length thing, it's basically trying to match the width of the canoe lead. So in our case, 2 fingers is about the width, or 4 fingers is about the width of the canoe lead we're using here. So I'm going to grab the next 2 here. And again, take your time, make sure they're lined up correctly. You don't want to be missing an eye like this and having one hanging. You want to make sure you get it correctly. So I'm going to grab under there, and we're going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to pull this over with the underhand half hitch. I'm going to measure with 2 fingers. I could probably slide it up a little more there. Okay, we're going to put tension on there. We're going to do an overhand right here. Go through the loop, pull it nice and tight. We're going to do an underhand to lock it. Okay, right there. So now it's time for the canoe lead again. So we're going to slide a canoe lead up here, up the heavy lead line. And now we're going to lock it on. So we're going to do 2 unders and 1 over. This is kind of the pattern I like to do. So under there, pull it up, and to the right, cinch it down nice and tight. Do it again, under, through the loop. Right there, pull it nice and tight. Go over, under the lead line, through the loop. Pull it up and over to the right, nice and tight. I'm going to put a good amount of force in there, lock it up in there. And then grab 2 more here, now that it's locked on. Get it through there, and we're going to do a knot, 3 half hitches in the middle of the canoe lead. So we're going to go right about there in the middle, cinch it down there. We're going to do an overhand to the left of that knot, or that half hitch, cinch that down. Then we're going to do an underhand on the right. I'm going to cinch that down. And then, yeah, grab 2 eyes here, go from behind. We're going to do it to the left side. Get some tension on our lead line. And then, like I said, I pinch it, kind of move it over to the side, like so. Lock it there with an underhand, or an overhand. Do another overhand right here. Lock that down nice and tight. We're going to go to the other side of the canoe lead, and we're going to lock that in. So I do 2 unders and 1 over. So 1 under, lock it nice and tight. another under, lock it nice and tight, and then we're going to do an over right here. I'm going to cinch that down real tight, dig it into that 350 pound test. And you see here, this is kind of, it's connecting here, yeah. And that's how it's supposed to look. So we'll keep basically repeating that for the whole length of this net, or width of this net. So it's 80 pieces I'm putting on this one, and then when I get to the end, I'll show you how to connect it together. I was taught to crimp it. Other people just knot it together. I don't know how to do it that way yet. Once you get a little further down the net and skirt, putting the lead on, you could go ahead and put the completed parts on your left knee here, and put the rest of the canoe lead part on your right. I kind of have it resting on a table here to help and create tension on this lead line right here. And then yeah, just go ahead and keep sewing, put some music on, watch a show, and yeah, just blaze through this. So I'll just show a couple more here I'm doing. Got my fingers measured there. Do a half hitch on the left for the center one, and a half hitch on the right, cinching it down nice and tight. Grab two, go from the back, the eyes from the skirt and the net, that is. Measure our 2 fingers, and I'm just going to do like I did for the center. One to the left, one to the right. Cinch it down nice and tight. Canoe lead on, lock it on, 3 half hitches. So I'll do 2 under, 1 over right here. And then I'll grab the 2 eyes here from the skirt and the net, or 1 eye from each. Get the middle, lock that down. Cinch that nice and tight. And whether you're using mono as your lead line, or using I forget what they call that, it's like twine or rope, it's the same technique with this. There's other people that do this a different way, and they'll actually lock, instead of doing half hitches, they do knots and they lock them on. I need to learn that way. I'm interested in that way, but this way works just fine. Okay, half hitch there. I'm going to do a under here, and then 2 overs. I'm just pulling it really nice and tight. You want to get that 40-pound test, digging into that 350-pound test, and get some memory. But you could kind of see this is all the completed parts of the net right here. And I'm not sure if you could see up here, because it's dark in the background and this is dark line. But you could kind of see this skirt better, right? So in theory, the bigger fish are going to swim through here, even smaller fish, and if they don't get gilled in the net portion over here, they'll get stuck in this pocket area down here. And when fish are stuck in this pocket area, when you're lifting the net out of the water, you just got to be careful. You just probably wrap the net on itself. But if you're just on, say, sand, like in a river, when you need to take the fish out and they're just stuck in the pocket, it's super easy. You just flip the net, shake it, and they come right out of the big eyes. It's real nice if you're getting like tilapia, or if somehow you get mullet and they don't gill in the net. But this is what it looks like. Okay, so we're 1 lead away from completing the net. I'm going to show you what to do in these final parts here. So we're going to finish this space between the 2 lead over here first. Can get a little tricky keeping tension on the lead line when you get this close near the end and you only have 1 lead left. Cinch that down. Get the next one here, or next pair. Measure that out. Do our half hitches. And here we go. We're gonna secure our other lead now. This is our final lead. We're gonna lock it on like we normally do. Doing 2 underhand half hitches, then locking it with an overhand, pulling it nice and tight. So from here, I'm gonna get some nail clippers. I'm gonna cut the lead line probably about here, about a foot away. Might need some bigger nail clippers. One sec. Okay, cut that. What we're going to do from here is going to grab our lead line, tag end from the other end. We're going to pull out this one here from where we were just sewing. We're going to get a crimp. Wrong bag right there. This is a 2mm crimp that fits with this 350-pound test. We're going to put that through the lead line tag end that we were using to sew across the net, and this is the tag line of the start of the net. So we're going to get the start of the net tag line, feed it through the canoe lead on this side, and we're going to put that through the crimp right here. And from here, we're going to try and measure the gap between these two canoe lead and make sure it's about the distance of the gap over here. So we're using our fingers here. And then you remember we want 2 sets of eyes above the lead and between the lead. So remember, we'll have a knot between there. So that looks to be about the spacing. And we'll want the crimp, we'll put it kind of close to, you can either put it over here on the left side or on the right side. You don't want to put it in the middle where the actual knot will be. So you get your crimping tool, make sure you use the proper size. We're gonna get this on my knee, kind of take some tension off there, and I'm pinching the 2 lines. Get our crimp, put it through on the 2mm part, and then I'm gonna squeeze it, crimp it down. Get it on the other end, or not on the end, but kind of in the middle. I believe when you crimp, you're not supposed to actually do it on the end, you're only supposed to do it in the center. Do another little crimp right here. And then I'll get it kind of closer to the end, about like that far. Then I'm going to crimp it again. Okay. Put a good amount of pressure. So you want to make sure your actual crimp itself is horizontal in the crimping tool. You don't want it like this. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure it's like this, horizontal. That way you get a proper crimp. So I like to just do it a couple times just to make sure it's on there really good. And you do not want to do it on the edge, just leave a little sliver. Okay, so we're crimped on now. I'm gonna get my nail clippers again. I'm gonna crimp those tag lines off real close because these are gripped on there real tight. There we go, 1 tag line. We're gonna get our other tag line. Make sure you're getting your tag line and not the line itself. Because you're gonna have to do a repair then. So just be really careful when you trim these. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to finish sewing across and we'll be done with our lead line. So we're just going to treat it like normal sewing with the lead line. I'm going to get 2 through there, under. I'm going to do a knot in the middle. So I'll put it right about there. 1 on the left. And we'll get 1 on the right here. Make sure it goes on that center bunch of knots there. There we go. I'm going to get 2 right there. I'm going to tie our half hitches on the other side. And remember, I try to push it, I pinch it, and I kind of pull it through so I could get space in that canoe lead to sew these half hitches. So it can get a little tricky because that crimp right there. And I'm just going to do an under through it, pull that through, get it through the loop, and just carefully make sure that half hitch goes on the other side of that crimp, as you can see there. Okay, I'm going to lock it in over here. This tag line's in the way. I'm going to wrap that, tuck that over here. Pull that out of the way. Okay, we're going to do our half hitches here. So I'd like to do 1 under, 2 over, 1 final over here. And then we're going to get our 2 eyes here, go under from the back again, do our 3 knots in the middle between there, right there. I'm going to lock that down, so 1 on the left side and then 1 on the right side. Cinch that down nice and tight. Then get these final 2 here. I'm going to do some half hitches at the beginning of over here. So let me just cinch this part down real good. And our needle just fell through our eyes here. I gotta fish this out. Okay. Do some half hitches here. 1 half hitch, and just get it so from where you started, just line them up with the original half hitches you did on your net. Just slide them over there. Get some slack. Okay, there's 1. I'm going to do 2 more. There's another 1, an over. I'm going to do an under. Put that through. Cinch it down real tight. Real tight. So this tag line that was from originally attaching the needle on, trim that off. Now the tag line from this needle, I'm going to put about maybe a foot or so. Keep tension. I'm going to cut it. And now what we're going to do, we're going over. It's like we're doing a regular tying on a... Okay, so we're just going to go over it. We're going to do half hitches right on the other side. So do 1, what was that, over, under, can't remember. You could just make up your own patterns, honestly. I'm just going to do a couple half hitches. Cinch that down nice and tight. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do this final half hitch here. I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to half hitch it right here, yeah. Cinch it down really tight, tight as you can. pull that thing in. Get that thing locked in there with some memory. I'll just do another one. And I'll just wrap it around the lead line twice. And we'll pull it through. Cinch it down really tight. Tight as you can. There we go. And we got a lead line finished. So we're gonna clip this now. There we go. We have our lead line on this net done. We are ready to do the pico. We're gonna flip this net right side out because it's currently inside out, and then we'll tie our pico on, and this net will be done, ready to be thrown, ready to catch some fish. But to do the pico now, since we finished the lead line, we're gonna flip the net. So I'm gonna take this key ring off here so it's not in the way, getting tangled on everything. And basically all we're gonna do is we're gonna grab one part of the lead line or the net, and we're just gonna flip it over, and we'll fish out the center of the net or the pico, excuse me, through we'll just pull out the pico through the center. So as you will see here, this is why I got rid of that key ring, so it makes it a little easier. Okay, so we got it, and now we're gonna pull it up here, and the rest of the net should flip over. We'll just kind of get all the lead fixed and situated. Alrighty, so now the net is right side out, and you could tell because you'll see the pocket or the skirt part on the inside, or you'll see the net kind of bulging out on the side for that pocket. So now what we'll do is I'm gonna kind of create a little knot on itself here, like so. Half hitch itself, not very tight, just enough to create some tension. Pull that through. Okay, there we go. Do a little half hitch on itself. And then I'm going to get a needle with the orange line to match this, and we're going to start sewing the pico, and this net will be done. This is the final part of making the net. After this, we are done. So I got my needle of orange trilene right here, and we're gonna feed it, put it through the eyes here. We're gonna start it with a uni knot, or a hangman knot, or a whole bunch of names. So put it right through, put the tag line and the needle line parallel of each other. I'm going to make a loop with the tag line. I'm going to pinch these two, and I'm going to have this tag line go around just twice in that loop. I'm going to pull that tight. It's going to create a little knot there. I'm going to cinch it down on the pico itself. So at this point, I'm going to take the carabiner off, or a key ring, or whatever you're using. Put that to the side, and all the pico is a bunch of half hitches. So we're going to do half hitches. We're going to bring our knot up just about to the base of these knots here. We're going to do half hitches down this way, going through, so going in a counterclockwise direction around the pico. We're going to do half hitches all the way to the half point right here, and then from this point we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do regular half hitches. We're going to be going under it and going all the way up, and then we'll be doing half hitches around the base here, and we'll end it from there. So the second half is much quicker than the first half. First half takes a little while. So for now, I'm gonna trim this tag line off nice and close. It's good to use nail clippers to get real close. I'm gonna move that up there, as far up the base as I can. Let me just make sure this is lined up properly. Okay. And then we're going to be doing half hitches. So I'm going to have the needle go from the top down through, and I'm just double checking, making sure I have this all lined up correctly. So we're going to go through it, and we're going to, through that loop, we're going to put the needle through there, cinch it down. We're going to slide it up nice and tight to that original uni knot we did. I think this part might not be aligned right. Oh no, looks like it's fine. We're just going to keep doing that until we get to the halfway point down here. Let's get them nice and snug and tight, and put them, slide them up to the previous half hitch. So we're just going to keep doing this until we get to the bottom part of this big loop. This is probably the easiest part of the whole net, honestly. It's just a little time consuming. It'll take probably about 30-40 minutes. But the idea is, if you could kind of see there, you want this line from the half hitches to evenly go all the way around nicely. And one kind of cool trick, if you didn't know, with the pico is if you're throwing on top of sand on beaches or rivers, you could actually attach a rope to your pico here, and then attach the rope to your wrist. And it's your preference on how long you want to make the rope. But basically with that, instead of throwing the net and having to go in that water and retrieve it like you do on the reef for the rocks, you can just pull the rope really slowly. My friends call that dragging lead, and it makes it really easy when you're on the rivers or the beach targeting whatever you're going for, whether it's moi or mullet or, you know, veke, whatever. And then if you don't catch any, just go down the beach, you know, however many feet or yards you want to go, and just throw again. So once we have this pico done, we're going to test throw this net. I'll show you the spread of it. I'll show you in the third person too, with me throwing it. So see how it's coming along right here? You want them nice and tight, these half hitches, and you'll have this line going around. It's like a seam. So I'm just gonna cut the video right here, and then we'll skip ahead to when I'm halfway down. As you can see, I've made it to the halfway point over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over here, and now we're going to do half hitches going the other direction, so from behind instead of in front. So this will be a lot quicker. So I'll get this started, and like I said, just make sure you cinch them up nice and tight with all the other ones. You want it nice and uniform. So we'll do a couple more here, then we'll skip ahead to the next step after this. So as you can already see, this is a lot faster. I'm actually kind of doing that trick that you'd see me do when I would sew normal eyes on the net, or just sew in general. I'll put my needle hand under the line, put the needle through, and grab it with my fingertips and pull it through. And that's the half hitch. It's a lot faster. But again, I'm just making sure that these cinch up nice and tight along there, all next to each other. But it's hard to do this trick overhand. You just want to be really consistent when you're doing these half hitches. But you see, this is way faster, at least for me. Now this is the way I was taught how to do it. Do it in the opposite direction when you start it, and then do it this direction on the second half. So occasionally I'll unravel the needle here because it gets twisted up with all those half hitches. And we'll keep going. So yeah, I'll show you the next step in a bit. We've done our half hitches now. We've matched up with where we started. So now we're going to do half hitches around this whole entire part here up until the knots. And then we'll secure it and this net will be done. So I'm just going to be doing under hand half hitches here. So I'm going to put my my needle hand under the line, go around the entire net there, and we're going to be doing cinching them down right at the bottom of where we did half hitches on both sides. Just get those nice and tight, lined up with each other, on top of each other. And so how to finish off the pico, tie it off. I got this separate tag line here. I'm not sure if you can see it, this blue line. You're gonna fold it in half to kind of make a little loop right here. I'm gonna put that down like so, kind of pinch it off, hold it there. We're gonna do a half hitch around it. Do a couple half hitches around it. Do one more for good measure. Okay, cinch that down. What we're going to do is we're going to put our needle here through that loop, pull it through, then you grab the tag lines of that blue loop you basically made, grab the tag lines, pull it through. See that? Pulled it through here. Get rid of this blue line here. We're gonna secure the pico over here. So we're just gonna do pull the line right through here, cinch it tight. Okay, and we're just gonna cinch it nice and tight as you can. There we go. We're going to cut that off, and this net is done. There you go. There's a complete pico right there. Let's hold up this net, take a look at it. Oh, actually, let's undo this knot here we did to sew the pico. So you want to do this knot up here, or this half hitch, just to keep all the lines here nice and straight. Let's take a look here. This is a completed 8-foot net, 3-inch eyes. Let's go test it out. We're gonna go to a park and throw this thing. I think I'll make myself a net in this color. Really beautiful blue. This is Andy Monster Blue, and the orange part is trilene. Trilene Blaze Orange. So let's test out the net we've made. Let's test it out. Check the spread on this thing. Nice spread. We're just gonna spread it out for a picture. Let's send this picture. This is my friend I'm selling this to. He's gonna be stoked. I'd be stoked if this was my net. I gotta make myself a net one of these days. Alright, got it spread out. It's kind of a walk around of it. Let's get a picture of this thing. There we go.